This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we're dealing with an LG washer-dryer combination that has the OE error, which means it isn't draining. And it's good to check the coin trap down in the lower left-hand corner just to see if there's anything maybe obstructing the drain. But almost always it's due to a faulty drain pump, so we're going to be replacing it. We took out the detergent drawer. We're going to be removing the two stainless steel screws. These are Phillips head screws. We're going to take off the two small Phillips head screws off the back. There's two of them that are one on top of the other. The bottom one is the one you want to take off on both sides. And then you're going to push the top lid away from you by about an inch, and then you should be able to lift it off. So we have to get the top panel off first, and then we have to take off the front panel. And that's going to allow us to have easy access to the drain motor. These drain motors only cost about $25 from Amazon. They're kind of cheap, but I have to take off this little screw on the back. They just don't last as long as they should. Now we're going to pry the front control panel, the top of it, toward us until it releases, and we're just going to lift it up, put it off to the side. We're going to use a standard head screwdriver to pry off this retaining spring-loaded clamp that holds on the front of the door boot. And once we get the clamp off, we're going to pull the boot away from the front panel so we can get the front panel off. And remove these two Phillips head screws that hold on the door lock. And there's a little screw here behind the coin trap, so we're going to pull the coin trap door off. I'm going to take off a Phillips head screw that holds on the plastic case in front of the coin trap. There's a little screw that hides behind this plastic case, so you kind of pry it off. And then there's the little screw down there near the bottom, just one, and that's helping to hold on the front panel also. So we pull that off. And then we have these screws here at the top of the front panel. I think it's 5, 3 on the right side and 2 on the left. Nice thing about this machine, they're all Phillips head screws, so they're easy to come off. And you bring the front panel towards you and then lift it off its clips on the bottom. And then what I like to do is pull the machine away from the wall and kind of lean it back about 45 degrees, so I just have easier access to the pump. It also diverts water away from the pump. So we're going to take off a couple of Phillips head screws on the front, and we're going to take off these hoses. We just use pliers to grab the spring clamps, and then we can lift the hoses off. There's 3 of them. There's a small black one on the right, there's a green one on the left, and there's a big black one in the middle. We got to get all these hoses off. And if your machine isn't draining at all, it's good to try to bail out as much water out of the tub as you can and lean it back at 45 degrees before you pull these hoses off, because otherwise a lot of water can come out. So I'm just getting all these hoses to release. I'm going to pull the 2 power wires off of this circulation motor, the one on the right. And the one on the left is the drain motor. I'm going to take the 2 power wires off of that one. So I took the hoses off first, took the power wires off, and I took a couple of Phillips head screws out of the front near the coin trap. And then I should be able to push in on the pump and then lift it up and out. You'll notice as you try to lift it out that the wires are kind of held in position, so you have to unclip them as you pull it out. There's a little catch there at the bottom too. You have to lift up and then pull the pump towards you by about an inch. So I'm taking those wires out of their retaining positions Then I'll be able to get the whole pump free. And I just want to get the pump on the left, the drain pump. I want to remove that and put a new one on. Just 3 Phillips head screws holding it on. So I'm just going to check the coin trap just one more time, make sure there's nothing in there before I reassemble. And then we're going to just zip off those 3 screws. Kind of notice the orientation of the pump though. It's at kind of an oblique or diagonal to the pump housing. So you want to make sure you put it back in the same way. So get those 3 screws off. And then there's like a plastic case or sheath that surrounds the drain motor, and I'm going to pry that off with a standard head screwdriver. Just be patient with this. It might take a couple of tries, but it will pry off. We want to put that same plastic sheath over the new motor. And once you do this, your machine's going to work great again. It's going to be able to drain the water really well. What happens is the impellers tend to just get loose on the shaft, and the motor spins, but the impeller won't move any water. So I'm just tightening up those 3 Phillips head screws. Make sure you get this tight, otherwise it'll leak. Looks pretty good. Let's get the new drain motor on, and we're going to put this tube back through the frame. We're going to put the power wires back on to the drain side. Don't worry about the circulation pump yet, but you want to do the drain side. I'm going to try to fit the bottom of the housing back into a little slot on the white plastic at the bottom of the washing machine. I'll get the power wires for the drain back into their little slots. And I'm going to put this green discharge hose back on. I'm going to grab my pliers and squeeze on the clamp and then push the hose down and then let go of the clamp. This is the hose that brings the water away from the washing machine. We're going to put the power wires back onto the circulation motor. Circulation motors tend to not get messed up. It's usually the drain motor because it works a lot harder during the cycle. And here's the big black hose that hooks between the tub and the drain housing, and I'm going to use my pliers to squeeze in on the clamp. And this might take a couple of tries. This one's a little tricky. You've got to guide that black hose back over the drain housing and push in behind it as you put a little pressure on the clamp so the clamp stays a bit loose. And just be patient, keep at it, you'll get it. It'll slip back on. I have to put the little tiny black hose back onto the circulation motor. So you got to do the same thing, use the pliers and push down on the hose. Put those 2 Phillips head screws back in that hold the pump in position. I'll push behind the pump as I tighten those. We're pretty much done. We just have to put the panels back on. So we're putting the front panel back on. I want to get it to fit down on the slots at the bottom onto the clips. I'm going to push it shut, make sure it all lines up, and then I'll go ahead and put a couple of these screws in on the top. So there's 5 of them. Pop those in, get them tightened up. Alright, so we put the front panel back down in, push it shut to click it into position. I'm going to put the lid lock or door lock back in through the front panel. I'm going to push behind it and then add those 2 Phillips head screws in to hold it. There we go. Got that tight. So I'm going to just fit this door boot back into the front panel by pushing it up over the metal ridge. I'm going to work it all the way around. Make sure it's on there nice and tight. And put that little tiny screw back into the front panel at the bottom. Put this plastic case back in, just snaps into position, and add a Phillips head screw to hold that one in too. That's a bit of a longer screw. So we got a little liquid soap put on this door gasket spring clamp, and that lubricates it so that it's a lot easier to put on. So make sure you put something slippery on there, some kind of oil or liquid detergent. Push it down and use a standard head screwdriver to give me a little pressure to pry it on at the bottom. That looks good. Put the little lid back on. Put these two longer stainless steel screws in. They're a little bit brighter of a silver that hold on the water dispenser. I'm going to put the detergent drawer back in. I'll put this little Phillips head screw in the back of the panel, put the top panel back on, and then pull it toward me, and I'll add those two screws in the back to hold that on. Plug it in.
Like there's rinse and spin, which works. Another way is you can turn it on and you can press this button, spin speed, until you get to extra high, and then it'll just do a spin cycle. It'll just drain and spin. And we'll test it. We'll put some water in it too. Yeah, that's the sound of a good drain, right? Instead of that.
I hope this video has been helpful to you, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.